for Real Madrid, joined them from Manchester City during the summer. I think scored or played in the game where Real Madrid then knocked Manchester City out of the Champions League almost straight away. Aaron Cuthbert is at Chelsea. They are missing Kim Little, who's still, I think, only 31, but retired from international football, and despite the importance of these games, decided she wasn't coming back. The overall quality of this Scotland side on paper compared to Ireland, how would the two of them match up?
I mean, they have a lot of key players. You mentioned Cuthbert. Cuthbert is is a world-class player. I mean, she's excellent. You see what she does at Chelsea. It's probably taken her a couple of years to establish herself in that team. When you look at the quality they have there, it's always going to be difficult. But she's for me, she's a world-class player, and she was pulling the strings for Scotland in the middle of the park in this game. There was a danger there. We saw she got a knock laid on. There was a suggestion she might go off, but thankfully for her, she didn't. Obviously, thankfully for Scotland, maybe not for us if we play them. Look, thankfully she wasn't seriously injured, but she's an excellent player. And you mentioned Caroline Weir. She's had a great career as well. Lisa Evans is another one. The captain, Rachel Corsie. So they're probably your key players. But when I look at the Scotland team and I look at us, or even looking at the Austria team, I certainly wouldn't fear either of them. I think pound for pound, as they say, we're equally as good. We have some world-class players of our own. I'm always speaking about Denise O'Sullivan, Katie McCabe. They're world-class players, and any team would love to have those two players in their team. So I certainly wouldn't fear either of these in a playoff. Vera may be wanting to play Scotland. I'd probably want to play Scotland as well. You mentioned accessibility for fans, accessibility from every point of view. But there's also that maybe familiarity, which, could go against both teams, because most of the players on our team and on the Scottish team are playing in the Women's Super League in England. So you have that familiarity, and that could end up bringing it down to a local derby game. And in derby games, anything can happen, as you know. We saw the men's team there recently playing Scotland. It was frenetic, it was frantic in the first half. We played excellently. Then, unfortunately, it didn't go our way in the second half. So you just don't know what's going to happen in a type of a derby game. But look, all that aside, I definitely wouldn't fear either of these teams. And I just say bring it on Tuesday.
I don't really want to talk about the bigger picture stuff at the moment, because we should be focusing, zoning in on the football and what's going to happen on the pitch. But maybe when we have the attention on these games is the time to talk about them. The fixing of these matches on, say, tonight, where there's a full run of Europa League games and then there's only a 4-day turnaround. We don't know where the game is going to be. We don't know what time the kickoff of the match is going to be. If it's in Glasgow, it's going to be on at the same time that Celtic are playing in the Champions League. That creates all sorts of issues for Irish fans having to travel. It creates all sorts of issues, it seems, in terms of television coverage, that RTE are contractually obliged to show Champions League on Tuesday, when obviously this is a massive game of national interest that the public service broadcaster really should be showing. UEFA, it seems, have washed their hands and just left it up to the national associations. Surely UEFA need to take more of a grip on this to make sure that these games get the biggest possible audience and get a night on their own. I know it's a very cramped calendar, but get the attention that they deserve.
Yeah, and look, we're trying to promote women's football, and trying to go against the biggest games in the men's calendar is not going to work. We know it won't. So if those clashes happening is not going to help our game, and it's a shame if our own national broadcaster. I wasn't aware now that they may potentially not be showing the game.
I'm fairly sure they'll find a way of showing it, but I know it's definitely something that's proven to be complicated.
Sure, and I can understand that, I guess, if they have contractual obligations. But it is a shame that UEFA haven't been able to find a night alone for these games. It's the biggest games in the European calendar. It's the playoffs for the World Cup. We saw the last World Cup in 2019 in France, how big that was. We saw the Women's Euros this year, broke all sorts of records. The women's game is on the up. The obvious desire to see the games, to go to the games, to watch them is there, so it's a shame that there's going to be that competition where, there is potentially the game maybe not shown, or a clash of fans. Which game do I go to? So that is a shame that if that happens, and hopefully some resolution can be found.
The Republic of Ireland have plenty of time to prepare themselves for this game. They've been in camp since Monday. Vera Pauw does have some injury issues. Savannah McCarthy, obviously a long-term absentee, who started the game as one of the centre halves. Ruisha Littlejohn picked up an injury in the last game. She's out. Megan Connolly is also out. Jess Zhu has picked up an injury. What we're hearing is potentially an ACL injury, so going to be a long-term absentee, yet another ACL problem. Are you looking at, is it Megan Connolly who's potentially the biggest loss there, and how it changes things for the Irish side?
I think Megan is a huge loss. She's been, she's played excellently. She's since she made her made the position her own the last couple of years, the last campaign, she's been one of our consistent performers. Her set piece delivery has been second to none. We've scored some vital goals from it. She scored a goal herself directly from free kicks. So that's going to be a huge miss. Just her pinpoint precision, passing, her defensive game, her attacking game. She will be a big loss. For me, Jess is even as big a loss, because I think in the last couple of games she's been fantastic. She's really found her niche in the team now. She's come out of her own. She's starting to develop into a really, really good player. She's playing now in West Ham. So she's obviously, in a professional environment now, and that's helped her to develop. So it's an awful shame for her. And if it is an ACL injury, it's an even bigger shame for her and for Ireland. But both of them will be a huge loss. Leanne Kiernan is another one I'd like to point out. While Leanne hasn't been in the starting 11 in the last couple of games, Leanne is a natural goal scorer, and for me, I'd have her in my team. She has lightning pace up front. She terrifies defenders. She can get in behind defences. She's a natural goal scorer, and she was scoring goals for fun for Liverpool. So she's a huge loss as well. So look, we have a lot of injuries, but having said that, when you look at the squad that's been named, I think we have a huge amount of talent there. We have a huge amount of depth there now that we maybe wouldn't have had 2-3 years ago. So I think we've players there that can slot in. Okay, we are going to miss the quality that the injured players we're going to miss with those players not being available.
Some of those replacements are probably obvious. You expect Niamh Fahey will come straight back into the side in place of Megan Connolly, who had started at centre back against Finland. In terms of replacing Littlejohn and Zhu, so we saw it was Lily Agg who came on and obviously got the goal in place of Roisha Littlejohn when she went off injured. Do you see that happening again? And also then with Jess Zhu, is it a Lucy Quinn that comes in there? Or I've heard some people say maybe there's a possibility with Katie McKay playing on the right for Arsenal, that she can move over there, and there's plenty of options on the left for Ireland.
Yeah, look, you don't know what Vera is going to do, really. When you look at the options we do have options, and Lily Agg has played very well in the last game. Got the winner obviously against Finland. Niamh Fahey for me would have to come back. I think for her experience alone, for her drive, her determination, her settling players around her, because it's going to be nerves on the night. You only had to look at the first 20 minutes of the game tonight. There was nerves, and even in the other games, there's been some. There was one big upset tonight. Portugal already beat Belgium, and I think Wales are going into extra time against Bosnia, who are ranked like 60 odd in the world, and I think they've taken the lead now since. But there's it's a cup final for all those teams, and it's a once-off game, and nerves can come into it. So for me, Niamh Fahey definitely has to come in. I'd love to see Denise playing further up the pitch. You could push Denise on. Maybe have Lily Agg in as your number 6, or Jamie Finn for me has never let us down. She plays that position very, very well. Also, you've Izzy Atkinson that can play on the flank, or you could also put Heather Payne back there. That's sort of her natural position. I know we've put her up front, and she's done a lot of selfless work up there, and she's done really, really well. She can easily play on the right flank as well, and maybe you could put Lucy Quinn up top, or one of the other strikers, maybe Amber Barrett, that type of thing. But I think we have lots of options on the bench. So it'll be interesting to see which one Vera goes for. Yeah,
certainly sounds like there's plenty of options there, and a few different changes that you could possibly make. You talk about the pressure there, and Wales just about getting the job done, it seems. They're in the final minute after extra time, and they're 1-0 up against Bosnia. Ireland have suffered real heartbreak, and this group have suffered real heartbreak when you think back to that game against Ukraine, and it lingered with the group for a hell of a long time, and it wasn't helped that they ended up going on a bit of a losing streak after that. They've done so well with their performances against the likes of Sweden and Finland, and even in some of the friendlies against Australia. Do you think that's gone, or would you worry that that'll be a factor, the fear factor going into this game, that the nightmare of that match might come back to haunt them again?
I don't think the nightmare will come back to haunt them. I think they've grown enough now as individuals, as a team. There's huge resilience in the team. There's huge experience right through the team, as you mentioned, from Niamh to Denise, Katie. They're only young girls, but they've got so many caps behind them. Louise Quinn, Diane Caldwell, these type of players. Anya O'Gorman in the squad. Okay, she probably won't start, but she's going to be a huge presence in the background. I think they have grown that resilience. They've overcome these setbacks and they're able to cope with them a bit better now. I think the losing spree or losing spell that you mentioned, they might have gone on after the Ukraine game. In fairness, I think we played a lot of friendly games against top-ranked teams, and there was a reason for that. It was to get us used to playing those teams that play at a faster pace. They're better teams than us as such, to prepare us for Sweden and to prepare us for Finland, and it worked. Because while we didn't win for a long time, when it came around we obviously then turned the corner against Australia at home. But then when it came to the big games in the qualifying campaign, we got the results we needed to get us where we are today. So yes, there's been hardships along the way, and they go back even further than the Ukraine game. There's heartbreaks in my own time, heartbreaks in Noel King's time. They've gone back a long time, but I just think now we're at a different level with the squad, and the mindset is different, and the experience is different. And I think this game there, it's a cup final, and I think the girls will. I would hope they go at it and go for the jugular, whoever they're playing, and take it by the scruff of the neck, and don't sort of sit back and let the other team come on to you and hope to contain them. And then
that's what they've been doing, though, Sue, isn't it? Like that was that night against Finland. I think we all thought the occasion, the big crowd, they would go and whatever about going. You're never going to go all out attacking games at East Performance, but you set the energy and set the tempo, and that didn't happen at all.
No, it didn't. And I suppose we're still, okay, there's an awful lot to lose if we don't get through this game. There's a bigger prize even at stake, but we've got to the stage now where the bigger prize is, is within touching distance, where Finland was still, if we lost to Finland and Finland beat Sweden, we were out. We weren't we didn't finish second. So it was probably those little nerves that came in. And yes, we did sit deep. I thought we gave too much respect to Finland, especially at home, especially with a big crowd, especially as we'd beaten them away. And again, I've said it before, for me, Finland are a team on the slide. So I definitely think we showed them too much respect. So I sort of, I understood that game, nerves came into it. The one that disappointed me most, I suppose, was the performance away to Slovakia then after that. We got the result we wanted in the end, but I thought maybe we could have taken the game a bit more to them. But look, that's a different opposition. There's different things happening. Slovakia are a different style. They tried to slow you down. There's a lot of fouls going on maybe that you don't see. But for me, this, in this game, it's a once-off. It's a cup final. Don't have any regrets. Go for the game. Pound for pound, as I said, we're a better team for me than either of these teams. So I certainly hope we just go for it and grab the occasion.
Yeah, it is interesting to see, and will be, what that game plan is, because I've been doing commentary in the games with Emma Byrne, and Emma has been quite critical during the commentaries, again feeling that Ireland are sitting too deep, that they're not letting their best players use their talent. So getting Denise O'Sullivan and Katie McCabe on the ball in the right part of the pitch, that too often Denise is picking it up on the edge of her own D, when you've also got three centre halves there as well, and it just means that there's so few players in front of her. Is that just a team learning their way and nervous and needing to make a breakthrough, or do you think that's just the way Vera Pauw wants to play, that she feels Ireland almost setting up as underdogs in every game regardless who the opposition is? She feels that's the best way to get results.
Yeah, well, I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know what the instructions the players are getting, and I think Vera has said, that's not the instructions she's giving. So I don't really know. And I'd agree with Emma. It's disappointing when you see the likes of Denise and Katie, and I keep saying the world-class players, and for me, they are in the women's game. Get them on the ball, get them further up the pitch, get them to create things, get them to cause havoc in the opponent's defence, because that's what they're good at. And the rest of our players will feed off that. But getting on the ball on the edge of our box and, then having to try to create something, that's, that we're not using them as best as we can. And that's not feeding then the right mentality into the rest of the players. I think you want your players who can affect the game further forward. We have enough quality at the back of the pitch. We've enough quality with the girls you've mentioned, the centre halves, other players even that maybe are not even in the team, that can do that job at the back. So let them do the job at the back and feed the likes of Denise, feed the likes of Katie, feed the likes of Heather, and let them cause havoc. And I think a big addition now as well back in the team is having Megan Campbell. That gives us great balance at the back, and it frees up, maybe the likes of Niamh to even be that holding player in midfield. And then, of course, you have that throw in. And not only is it a great attacking weapon, but it's also a great outlet from defence. You get a throw in your own final third, and you want a quick throw down the line, and she can release a player of the likes of Katie or the likes of Heather with a throw, and their pace. Then maybe you might create a one-on-one, and get them to go at the opposition and hopefully score a goal or create a chance. So hopefully we see that type of a philosophy from the team. But look, I don't know. I don't know what way they're going to approach it, to be honest.
Yeah, it is one of those, you say, when it comes to that sort of cup final, winning is all that matters. Nobody will be talking about what the performance was like, I dare say, afterwards.
Absolutely, won't care. Look, if we were getting battered by whoever we play and we win 1-0 but with a penalty, who cares?
It looks like we're going to be heading to Scotland on Tuesday. It is still Scotland 1, Austria 0. There are, 2 minutes gone in the second half of extra time. The Austria have a free kick right on the edge of the Scottish area. Wales are through to the next stage. They beat Bosnia by goal to nil. Portugal were 2-1 winners over Belgium. Obviously, we won't know if a win will actually qualify Ireland until Tuesday night. We're still waiting on kick-off times and all that, so it's a bit to go yet, Sue, I think it's fair to say.
Bit to go yet, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly. Sue, great to talk to you as always. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again around Tuesday's game.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll have full coverage of the game on Tuesday night. Preview, review over in Glasgow, all that jazz. Over in Glasgow again. I was in Glasgow last week.
You look forward to it?
Oh, yes. Don't remember Ireland qualified. I've never been at a game where Ireland have qualified for a World Cup.
It's kind of exciting, isn't it? A one-off playoff.